diagnosed you. He's 50 years old, and he's complaining of chest pain. He said that it started about an hour ago and thinks that it might be indigestion. But he describes it as something pressing on his chest. Your boss is experiencing a heart attack, something that happens to someone in the United States every 26 seconds. The most current data shows that some of the leading causes of deaths in America are heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. Ironically, these diseases are sometimes referred to as preventable or lifestyle related, regardless of their hereditary association. I have already mentioned the problem, and we're going to explore some of the causes and my solution to these high mortality rates from these preventable diseases. I've gathered information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, USAtoday.com, as well as lectures and personal interviews with Dr. Larry Tucker of the Exercise and Wellness Department, and of course the scriptures, Doctrine and Covenants in the Old Testament. So some of you might be wondering, why are diseases such as heart attack and stroke and cancer and diabetes termed preventable or lifestyle related? Well, how many of you exercise today? How many of you exercise 2 or 3 times a week? Good on ya. How many of you eat 3 servings of vegetables a day and 2 servings of fruit a day? Because that's what's recommended. The average American eats about 1.4. Cause. How many of you go without eating meat during the meal? How many of you even know how to prepare a meal not centered around meat? Good job, because that's also a cause. But advertising works, right? How many times have you seen a broccoli or spinach commercial, and they compare that to the frequency of our fast food and junk food commercials? What's so frustrating about these commercials to me is that they're often misleading. How many of you have ever indulged in that crispy, crunchy, caramely dessert called Twix? Take a break, right? Yeah, 9 grams of saturated fat, so you might as well eat 11 pieces of bacon because that only has 7 grams of saturated fat. 1 serving of non-fat yogurt, which many people really love, is 81% sugar. That's dessert. How many of you think that milk is a health food? The dairy industry has done its job. Although it is a great source of calcium, don't get me wrong, it's also very high in fat and cholesterol, and if you take that out and drink skim or 1%, it's tons of sugar. So much so that in 2007, the USDA and Federal Trade Commission ruled in favor of a petition from the Physicians for Responsible Medicine to stop the advertising of a diet called 24-24. 24-24 was run in conjunction with the Got Milk campaign, suggesting that advocating and claiming that if you drank 24 ounces of milk for 24 days, you would lose weight. 26 studies were reviewed, and out of that, only 1 was positive on any weight loss, let alone body fat loss. So with all these conflicting messages, what are we to do? The answer is found in section 89 of the Doctrine and Covenants, given to us from our Heavenly Father to a modern-day prophet named Joseph Smith. In there we find that when we eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains, we're doing what Heavenly Father wants us to do, consumption of which is proven in modern-day research to help lessen our chances and in some cases prevent the development of these top-killing diseases. Fact, if you eat more meat, especially red meat, you increase your chances of cardiovascular disease. Once again, in section 89, the Lord tells us to eat meat sparingly. And in verse 13, he goes on to say, "It is pleasing to me that they not be used at all, except in times of famine, winter, or cold." As I've mentioned, every 26 seconds, someone in the United States suffers a heart attack. Every 1 minute, someone in the United States dies. So in the course of my 5 little minute speech, 11 of you have symbolically suffered a heart attack, and 5 of you have died. Beginning of the Sloan Showcase, 5:30, to the end of the Sloan Showcase around 8:30, 240 Americans will die. Deuteronomy 26:18, "The Lord hath avouched you this day to be his peculiar people." Brothers and sisters, if you are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I believe that to the rest of the world you are peculiar in speech and language, but are you peculiar in diet? 240 people at 8:30 will die. Choose you this day whom you will serve.